Super Mario Bros. 2 is not a bad game. In fact, I would say it's the NES Mario game that I'm most likely to go back and visit. Yes, Mario 1 is more iconic and Mario 3 is more grandiose, but Super Mario Bros. 2 just has a certain charm that keeps bringing me back time and time again. It's such a weird little world that you get to explore with such unique characters that inhabit it, like the Albatos, yes, you heard the pun right, or the Cobrat and the Flurry. It's just a unique and fun adventure that you get to take. And the characters you get to play as, from the little fluttering feet of Luigi to the bluntness of Toad to the floating of Peach, everyone is so unique and so alive. This game is just awesome to me. But about 15 years ago, people began to turn on this game. Word came out it wasn't originally a Mario game, but rather a reskin of a Japanese game called Doki Doki Panic, and people went crazy with their hate for this game. It was as if a reskinned game just couldn't be any good. All the reviews of when it first came out, and all the sales records it set, and all the fun that you could have as a kid, were just out the window. This game was becoming public enemy number one. But today, let's pull all that hate back away from this game and return to what we know about it and why Super Mario Bros. 2 is an amazing game. Before we dive too far into that, welcome to the Ogle's channel. Thanks for watching today. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to click that subscribe button down below for your latest in gaming news, reviews, content, a lot of retro stuff, and a lot of other stuff we throw on here as well. But today, let's talk about Super Mario Bros. 2 and why this game is actually such a great game and deserves to stand on the same footing as Mario 1 and Mario 3. First off, let's talk about the world design of this game. Each world is so unique, and even the levels within the worlds paint such a varying landscape with crazy, awesome creatures. Take the first level for example. We have the grassland full of waving plants to pluck from the ground, the Shy Guys for the first time ever, Tweeter, who looks like an old man in his cane somehow merged into one creature, ninjas and waterfalls of logs and fish, the night world, indoor caves to explore with more waterfalls, exploding blocks, ladders to climb, Birdo, who is a pink Yoshi like dinosaur that shoots eggs from its mouth, and you finish the world off by climbing into the mouth of a giant bird. Holy cow, what a first level. And it doesn't stop there. We have flying carpets that you take over, phantom heads that follow you around when you steal the keys, snakes that jump from giant vases that you can go into, pyramids to explore, sand to dig up like in Dig Dug, birds to ride on, birds to fly on. I mean, this game is one of the most different experiences that you can have on the Nintendo. And yes, I know that all of this is just a dream of Mario, but it's a crazy trip to say the least. Next, let's talk about the character differences. You get to choose from 4 characters and they all have their own individual abilities in the game. This was extremely unique for the time. Yeah, I know it's fairly ordinary now for different characters to act differently in a game, but in 1988, this was one of the only games to do this at the time. Now for the easiest journey, you would want to pick Peach and just glide through the air, and let's be honest, 90% of players did this. Next was Luigi with the super high jump. Mario was more of your average player, and Toad was the super small jump and really the hardest character in the game. You were essentially picking your difficulty level when you picked your player. I mean, that's the only reason you picked Toad, was because you wanted to basically play hard mode. Also, with the ability to swap your character every level, it was a cool idea because some characters are better suited for certain levels than others. The character powers are still used even to this day in some Mario games. For example, in Super Mario 3D World, they replicated it pretty much perfectly in the 3D environment, all retain the same old abilities. It just goes to show how great the different abilities were because it has stood the test of time. Next up are the bosses in this game. In Mario 1 it was just Bowser at the close of every level, and in Mario 3 it was just a kid of Bowser at the close of every level. But in Mario 2, a totally different and off-the-wall enemy at the close of every world. You had a 3-headed snake or Hydra who we have to throw what I can only assume are mushroom cupcakes at it. We have a giant mouse who is as criminal looking as possible with his little sunglasses, a giant flying fire, a rock-throwing crab, a trick boss of having the closing bird mouth follow you around and attack you instead of giving you an exit, and who could forget the final boss, Wart, a cruel leader frog king who burps bubbles and has giant tubas that shoot out vegetables. Man, I love this game. It's a true shame that Nintendo has never used Wart again after this. I'd love to see him in Super Smash Bros. Or Mario Kart at least. The bosses in this game are just some of the best on the NES and some of the best Mario bosses altogether, and I can't believe Nintendo just sits on this gold mine of villains and never uses them. Now I can't discuss this game and not talk about the music. The game doesn't feature as many songs as Mario 3, but the songs it does have are iconic. I love the music it plays in nearly all the core above ground levels and has been stuck in my head for nearly 30 years. I still whistle this song on a weekly basis and I could not be more excited to do so. The rest of the music is just as iconic, especially the closing music. I love this song, and to me, it's one of the reasons to beat the game. Just listen to the dream music while Mario is asleep. Not only is one of the best songs of any NES game, it also came with the best drawn scenes of Mario that the NES had to offer. Mario music is always beautiful, and Mario 2 helped to establish that legacy. Something that is often overlooked in this game that I was always amazed about as a kid was the option to throw a potion on the ground and go into a bizarro world of sorts. You get to enter into an alternate dark version of the world that you're already in and find new items, coins, and even warp zones. I was always so intrigued with the idea of having this alternate reality that Mario and friends could just explore, and I would just throw potions in all kinds of areas to see what I could discover. It's just such a cool concept, and that wasn't explored very often on the NES. One aspect that some people cite about this game that they don't really care for compared to the other Mario games is the difficulty. Even with the warp zones to jump through the game quickly, this game is much harder than the other two NES Mario games. Mario 2 takes after the first one and only gives you so many lives, but with the harder later levels to explore and find keys and take different paths, this game is quite difficult to finish, especially if you were a kid in the 80s or the early 90s. But the challenge to me is what keeps on bringing me back to the game. I love a game that is just challenging enough that when you finish it, you feel accomplished. While this is no Zelda 2 in that area, this game is hard enough where you actually feel like you did something when you beat the game. Mario 2 to me is the perfect difficulty when it came to those early Mario games. And while we're at it, let's just look at the box art. Mario zooming through the air, holding a radish. I mean, who could ask for more? Really. And while we're talking about some random stuff in this game, let's talk about my favorite level in the game, which has to be the ice world. I love all the creatures in it. I love that the soil looks like a cookies and cream ice cream. I love that there's a random rocket ship that pulls up from a plant. I love that you get to actually ride on the whale's water spouts or water shooting up that they come out. This is just such a cool and unique level. I mean, when I was a kid, just landing on the whales and their tails and riding their little water spout up, this was like the pinnacle of NES games to me. And when I think about Mario, I can't help but think about the whales in this level. Overall, Super Mario Bros. 2 is a perfect game. It's wacky, crazy, challenging, creative, and most of all, it's just fun. It's a shame that for years people dismissed it because it was just a reskin of another game. However, go back and remember it from the light of when you were a kid, or just as a game with no preconceived judgment, and I think you'll discover one of, if not the best retro Mario experience. But if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and as always, go out there, find a great game to play, just simply have a great rest of the day.